Hello all, my name is Chris Brenner. My case involves appalling mistreatment towards myself from one server at IHOP, International House of Pancakes, in New Westminster, British Columbia on Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. They close, or at least their advertised closing time, is 10 p.m. Wednesday to Sunday. The kitchen closes at 9:30. It's very common for a restaurant to close it half an hour before the whole place. You'll want to keep that in your minds. Kitchen closes at 9:30 p.m. Restaurant closes at 10:00 p.m. I ate a lot there, spent a lot, and was polite. Here's the evening server I was gifted with. A female server at IHOP seemed to develop animosity towards me over time. Even though I was very considerate and friendly towards the staff and was a customer for years, eating there frequently and spending about $50 in one sitting, she chose to vent on me. Her grudge towards me came from me leaving the restaurant too close to the closing time. For example, I would arrive at around 8:30, order a lot and eat slowly, proactively offer to pay at around 9:30 and leave the restaurant at around 9:55. Therefore, her attitude was that it was me and only me who prevented her from being able to leave at 9:35, 9:40, 9:45, instead of at 10 o'clock. I sent a letter to the manager after this last and serious occurrence. It was a she goes or I go type of negotiation. I like IHOP's extensive meal options and portions. Her boss pretty much gave me a too bad, so sad type of resolution, and I was more expendable than that server. This is my first time submitting a complaint like this in my life. 49 years old, but appalling treatment with no justice served. For those who don't care to hear a lot, hear about details, occurrences leading up to this, nuances, then of course feel free to just take what you've heard so far for what you feel it's worth. I apologize for repeating certain things throughout this video. I don't expect a lot of viewers to be fully attentive. I know I wouldn't be. Here's another condensed explanation of what took place. If you get a good customer, spends lots and treats staff with kindness and respect, show a reasonable amount of reciprocation. I'm speaking to one of the two female servers who works closing shifts. One of them is 5 stars. See if you can guess which one is which. If you go there in the evening, you'll probably get the same servers. As for the other one, the boss may want to seriously look into how much she enjoys her job. If she cannot cash out by the time the kitchen closes, and if the last customer, she can cash out earlier than that, and if the last customer hasn't left by then, she clearly feels so sorry for herself and takes that out on at least me. I could leave work by now if he didn't hold up the show type of fury. This place is not recommended by me because a server like this works there. I always proactively offer to pay early enough so they can cash out ASAP. This server's thinking was cash out as early as she can, no work left to do? Yay, I can leave. Any customer who is still left in the restaurant is a menace. When I was the only one remaining, I was the bad guy instead of a guy who indirectly contributed to paying her wages. Again, about $50 per sitting. It is unethical, childish, selfish, unprofessional to put her leaving early hopefulness ahead of consumer rights. If it is inconvenient, disappointing, frustrating to accommodate late arrivers, the restaurant staff should take that up with the manager or owner, asking that the advertised closing time get changed. It is wrong to shift the blame to the customer when the hours of operation are not getting breached. I work in customer service, and the number of things that I wish customers would do can be counted on or not do to make my job easier, life easier, can be counted on more than two hands. So, nothing to do but put on my big boy pants, I think. I'm paid to put up with those things last time I checked. An employee doesn't get to choose their customers. I've also worked at a restaurant in the past. To now give a more descriptive account of that incident, she got pissed off and didn't hide it that I'm someone who could arrive between 8 and 8:30 and still not be walking out of there until sometime between 9:45 and 10. How dare I, right? Maybe because I order 3 dishes and eat slowly, because it's more comfortable and healthier. My right. She wanted me out by cash out time, so I couldn't possibly prevent her from leaving as early as she could. Kitchen closes, she can cash out, and if there's any customers left in the place preventing her from leaving, it better not be me. I had told her that she was acting like someone who didn't enjoy her job very much. Her response? I love my job. You're the only one I don't like. Can totally tell that she loves her job with how quick she was to deny it and her eagerness to leave as early as the system can allow. She called me rude and condescending and stated that I need to show more respect. I mentioned the respect I show by proactively offering to pay so the cash out can happen ASAP. She gave an insulting whoop-de-doo response to that. Well, I could easily have been rude and condescending towards her a few times when I was in the process of defending myself. It was retaliatory. There's other restaurants that I frequent, and I get along great with all the servers. No other server has treated me like, bullied me like that. Not one. Not even close. Here's my routine. At that restaurant, I ordered everything before the closing time for the kitchen and left the restaurant before closing time 30 minutes later. I enjoy eating late at night. I'm someone who could arrive at around 8:30, pay so cash out is not delayed, and be walking out of there shortly before closing. I ordered 3 entrees when at that IHOP and chose to eat slowly. How many times should one chew their food before swallowing? I don't know. It's probably healthy to chew until you're pretty much drinking your food. Let's just say that I eat slowly enough to enjoy the experience and not have stomach or indigestion challenges later on. It was common that I was the only customer left after 9:30-ish. the business needed more customers late at night. Is it selfish to fully utilize the hours of operation because I enjoy eating late like that? Yes, guilty as charged. However, I don't totally get it. Wasn't her expectation and desire in connection with leaving early also selfish? A different brand of selfishness? I am a 10% tipper. Now, if that don't get a lynch mob started, very few things will. But my honesty won't allow me to leave that out. I understand that many servers don't care how much you pay. They may only care how much you tip. What about my spending adding to the business's bottom line? Isn't that where their steady income comes from? 20% is standard, last time I heard, and I will give that to a server who especially impresses me with the service. Cheap would be leaving no tip, so 10% is frugal. What can I say? There are many people who complain about how difficult it is to make ends meet financially, living in lower mainland BC. One of the things I do to make ends meet, with my desire to eat out, is tip 10% selfishly, if the service is great, good, bad. I even tip 10% on that dreadful evening described. If I'm instantly blacklisted by the 10% tipping, proof of my regular donations to World Vision, including sponsoring 2 children, and my donations to Canadian Blood Services, is available upon request. A server not liking me, having ill thoughts of me, and speaking ill of me when I can't hear it is, of course they're right, and fair enough. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who wish they could vent on a customer. Allowing those thoughts to exude outwards in my presence is a totally different story, at least in my opinion. Of course, anyone watching this who works as a server and doesn't like the job or even who does like it, but has a problem with late arrivers, will never see me as the good guy on this one. Now, let's move on to some of my good qualities regarding the business relationship when I was a customer at this IHOP. For over a year, I had been a regular customer and was there about every 3rd day, paying what I pay per visit. I had made the habit of proactively paying the bill before the kitchen closed, so I wouldn't be preventing the server from cashing out when she chose to. They're not supposed to cash out before the kitchen closes. The amount of times I walked out of there past closing can be counted on one hand. And the last time I did that was a long time ago compared to the bad customer experience I have described. I agree that walking out of there right at 10 or later is disrespectful and non-rule abiding. More good qualities will be mentioned later when I go over the letter I sent to the manager. Here's some occurrences which led to that incident on September 27th. One night I walked in there at 9:27 p.m. expecting to order food. There were no other customers in the restaurant. That server refused me. I believe that customers should follow the rules, and customers probably shouldn't make the habit of cutting it that close. However, I hadn't broken a rule and hadn't developed such a habit. Obviously, her eagerness to leave earlier and or the cook's same eagerness was prioritized ahead of consumer rights. When I mentioned this occurrence to the manager during our one and only face-to-face meeting, he definitely seemed to feel that I was in the right and asked why I didn't tell him about this back then so he could have prevented this from escalating. On another night, it was a little after 10, closing time, and I asked her for a glass of water to quench my thirst after eating a lot of salty stuff while she was doing some cleaning work. She rolled her eyes and gave a substitute for losing her temper type of smile. She told me, "Come earlier next time. We close at 10. I'm just doing this work to keep busy because you're still here." Not verbatim, but I left the restaurant at about 10:15, 10:15. I was in the wrong by not leaving by 10. But let the punishment fit the crime, eh? She was quite cold and acted like my around $50 contribution at the end of the night was of no value to her in comparison to her being able to leave by 10, if not earlier. The next time I came in, her greeting began with, "You'll be out by 10?" Next occurrence. I requested strawberry and banana pancakes. Please don't use that against me too. She returned to my table and told me that they were out of bananas. I politely requested that the cook make it without the bananas, but I asked if I could get a proportionate discount. I mean, the price on the menu was for the whole thing, bananas included. Very condescending look from her and uncalled for matching smile. She came back a little later and gave me an analogy using a burger and fries. If the customer doesn't want fries, the customer still has to pay the same for the burger and fries dish. That's an unfair analogy because I didn't request that bananas get left out. The restaurant was out of it. I was still polite and soft-spoken. When she made it clear that she could not discount the meal, I just asked for the double blueberry pancakes instead. Her response? "Now you tell her." Her referring to the cook. "Sorry, I'm not going to walk on eggshells to avoid having a server get bent out of shape. I requested the double blueberry pancakes right away after I got the news that there were no bananas, and she couldn't discount the meal." Here is the second to last incident of the ones I care to mention. I don't know that I'm the best for trying to imitate a woman, but she saw me walk in at around 8:30. She gave me a belittling smile while saying, "Oh God, you got to be out of here by 9:30. And then she turned around. I replied with, "Good evening, name of server. Nice to see you too." She ignored me and kept her back facing me. I was tempted to write a complaint, but held myself back. Then, the atrocious last occurrence took place. Letter to the manager. Appalling mistreatment from server. Attention, IHOP manager, name of manager, and corporate office. Dated September 28th, 2023. Regarding appalling mistreatment from server, name of server, on Wednesday, September 27th. IHOP location, 514 8th Avenue, New Westminster, BC, open until 10 p.m., Wednesday to Sunday. When I arrived at this IHOP location at around 8:50 p.m. that day, my service began with server, name of server, giving me what I would consider to be a personal attack. Why are you here so late? Name of server. Firmly told me that I was leaving by 9:30 p.m. and I was ordering everything at once. That was intimidation, with her telling me that I had to leave 30 minutes before the advertised closing time. Without getting into much detail on what she said, and based on memory, what she said and how she said it would, at least in my opinion, be accurately described as a lecture, reprimand, offensiveness, confrontational. Server, name of good server, who is a 5-star employee in my opinion, witnessed a lot of this. It has been my pattern to arrive at around 8:30 p.m., settle my tab at around 9:30 p.m., and leave at around 9:50 p.m. Here is a list of things that I have done for a long time to be considerate to the staff. Being a regular customer who pays a considerable amount in one sitting. My recent spending history is attached. Proactively paying my bill before 9:30 p.m. so the server can cash out as soon as possible. Leaving all dishes, cutlery, etc. at the corner of the table where it is easily accessible by the server. They do not have to reach. Clearing my plate so there is no scraping work required from the kitchen staff. General politeness, including commonly using words like please and thank you. I have never tried to order food as late as 9:30 p.m. Server, name of good server, is a witness to all of this. It seems that name of derelict server was regularly anxious to take advantage of the privilege of leaving work early if there were no customers left by 9:30 p.m. or later. I truly hope that she will not be able to get away with putting that hopefulness and expectation ahead of consumer rights. Name of server has shown noticeable signs of resentment or animosity towards me several times in the past, but this last time was excessive, as though my arrival time was the last straw with her. I did state that she seemed to not like her job very much. This impression she gave off seemed to be something she was rarely discreet about. She replied, "I love my job. You're the only one I don't like." When I questioned her on that, she stated that I was rude and condescending, but provided no examples. I am very rule-abiding, at least in the sense that I order everything before 9:30 p.m. and leave the restaurant before 10:00 p.m., Wednesday to Sunday. There have been times when I left the restaurant after closing time, but those occurrences can be counted on one hand, and the last time I did that was a long time ago. My biggest delinquency was leaving the restaurant one night at around 10:15 p.m. 10:15. I calmly asked, name of server, "What rule have I broken?" She responded with an awkward smile and saying, "It's not that, it's about being considerate." She made it clear that she could leave work earlier if it was not for me. I told her that there is also something called consumer rights, Again, awkward smile. Let's not talk. Let's just agree to dislike each other. I never said I did not like her. The question was repeated. What rule have I broken? That was responded to with silence until I insisted that she please answer that one simple question. She finally answered, nothing. Then why were you bullying me like that? I'm not bullying you. Also, when I arrived, she told me that someone was coming to check the kitchen at 9:30 p.m. and I could not be there while he was there. Was she lying? She did not order me to leave at 9:30 p.m., and when I left, there were other customers in the restaurant. If you check the records for that evening, you should see at least 2 payments after mine. Name of server. Has a personal prejudice towards me. Could a server who dislikes me and only me potentially sabotage my food before it gets served to me? That IHOP location has lost me as a customer unless server, name of server, is no longer working there and I am notified when this happens. She works when I enjoyed eating there. She stated that I am the only one she does not like, and my track record as a customer is attached. If she dislikes me for any reason other than coming in her way of her hopefulness for the leaving early privilege, please ask her to be specific. Thank you. Sincerely, Chris Brenner. My signature, phone number, and email address included here. P.S. Do you want testimonials from the servers at the other 2 restaurants that I frequent? Do you want the locations? Want names? Now, moving away from the letter and giving extra details, nuances, she made it clear that I was the only one keeping her there. Just you. While the scolding session was in progress, I said to her, no reprimand. Her response? Huh? You are leaving at 9:30. Knowing what I order and how slowly I eat, she invited herself to assume that I would remain there after closing time. She said, how late are you going to be here? 10:30? They're not going to pay me overtime to stay past 10. Words to that effect. Now, to talk aside from that for a moment, are there customers who deserve such treatment? Oh, for sure. I'd be interested to know what I did or didn't do exactly, which puts me into that category. There may be customers who give servers a hard time but are regular high-paying customers. To those customers, the attitude may be, haven't I paid my way to having the right to give them a hard time? Personally, I don't agree with that mindset at all. That's terrible. Very egotistical and uncalled for. Going back to what I encountered, a server's eagerness to leave early before a consumer's rights, I guess. I left there at around 9:45, and not because she freaked, but because of what I planned to order there before I entered. 2 entrees, not 3. That treatment went beyond bad customer service. It went beyond being rude to a customer. It was verbal/mental abuse. Bullying, a personal attack. I was a kind and polite customer, in addition to being a lucrative one. my bill amount, not my tip amount. I wore both hats. Of course, this server would disagree with the kind and polite part, simply because my hankering to eat late, but still be out on time, was messing with her leaving early privilege. I was well aware that latecomers can be an annoyance. People work hard in restaurants and naturally are eager to leave ASAP. However, when I'm not breaking any rules, not being rude, and paying a pretty penny for each sitting, I would think that that would offset and overshadow the annoyance. The annoyance is based on emotion and how they personally feel about the job, not their role in connection with the customers and the business. All right, please allow me to put it another way. That server cannot cash out before the kitchen closes. If there are no customers left at that time, she may be able to get herself out of there by 9:35. Now, 9:35 p.m. versus 10:00 p.m. Allowing herself to sulk over 25 minutes is, at the most, is pathetic, childish, selfish, unprofessional, and a good measuring stick for how much she enjoys her job and how much loyalty she has towards the business. Where I work, I would free time 25 minutes frequently just to show how much gratitude I have towards the people who feed me and indirectly feed me and pay my rent. 25 minutes, tops. Wow. After having submitted that letter, I met with the manager, who may also be the owner, and the head server also joined us. My track record as a customer was given to him, the payment history from bank and credit card transactions. He seemed to be evading any discussion of the guilt owned by that server. They suggested that I just show up, sit where I please, and try to avoid being served by her. In all honesty, I felt like I was being toyed with using that so-called solution. My reaction to that was, after having experienced what I described with that server, help me understand how I could feel comfortable being in this restaurant if that server is even in scene range. He made this statement about 3 times for some reason. This is a pancake house. No, IHOP has a full menu. It's still a business. He delivered the message a few times, saying in so many words, why not just stop showing up instead of this letter stuff stating your case? The manager was interested in knowing how I interacted with that server in the past, other than the unpleasant experiences. I was truthful in stating that I was kind and polite, but not personable. He seemed to place a lot of value on that answer for whatever reason. Seemed irrelevant to me. He also asked if I was a customer there with anyone or just being by myself. Always just me. Again, I don't know why he asked that question. He pointed at the letter and told me that this is opinion. My thoughts? Either she treated me terribly or she didn't. You may recall me mentioning earlier that I arrived one evening at 9:27 and was refused service by her. His response, "Why didn't you report that back then? I could have prevented this from escalating." My response, "I'm not as vicious as that letter may suggest." I believe it's a very unfavorable trait to push someone under a bus, so to speak. Based on the excessiveness of the treatment up to now, I'm definitely willing to make an exception to that. It was a she goes or I go type of negotiation. For me, that didn't necessarily mean termination. He stated that he could not terminate or would not terminate that server, transfer her to another IHOP location, or ensure that she is only working day shifts. One thing he did say towards the end of the meeting was that he didn't blame me for not wanting to come back. Second letter, escalating my case. Attention IHOP head office, dated October 8th, 2023, regarding case number, the case number included here. With all due respect, please escalate this case. Today I had a face-to-face discussion with name of manager at 514 8th Avenue, New Westminster, BC, and the head server concerning this. My request to continue being a customer at that IHOP location without being in the presence of that verbally/mentally abusive server was not given due consideration. It is rare for me to go to restaurants at any time other than in the evening. Name of manager stated that he could not or would not terminate that server, transfer her to another IHOP location, or ensure that she is only working day shifts. As a longtime customer who came frequently and spent a significant amount per visit, I am simply requesting that arrangements be made so I can continue to eat meals in the evening at the only IHOP location which is at a reasonable distance from my home, without seeing server, name of server, who has exhibited hatefulness towards me on several occasions. I do hope that my feelings are understandable based on the details in the first letter. If you require any elaboration concerning the facts in the September 28th letter, I would be happy to provide that. All previous attachments have been included, but with a more extensive payment history, with my IHOP spending 1 to 4 being the IHOP meal payments from my bank account, and my IHOP spending 5 to 8 being the payments from my credit card. The last 6 months for my bank account and last 12 months for my credit card transactions are the most I can obtain. My intention was to continue that spending trend for a long time, but I am 100% sure I will not return unless I am assured that the server will not be there when I am. Name of manager seemed or pretended to be staggered by my thorough letter approach to this situation and feels that the proper way for a customer to react to something like this is to simply not return. I really do like IHOP's extensive meal options and portions. My approach is demonstrating that I care while giving the business a chance to retain me as a customer. One of the reasons name of server may have chosen to be so abrasive is her awareness of how the IHOP system works and the lenient consequences for management that awaited her. In other words, what's the worst that can happen to me type of mindset. She said straight out, "You're the only one I don't like." Her intention may have been to give me a reason to not want to come back, which would suit her. That was definitely accomplished if she remains. She wins, so to speak. Is that good consumerism or good business? You have my consent to potentially involve me in any lawsuit, which may escalate from a termination. Sincerely, Chris Brenner. Again, my signature, phone number, and email address included here. This second letter was not responded to. My request to continue being a customer at that IHOP location without being in the presence of that verbally/mentally abusive server was not given due consideration. I didn't want anything more. She acted the way that she did. She keeps her job. She got rid of me as a customer, so to speak. A server who behaved that way got to win double. Many people viewing this would probably be amused that I tried to get the manager or owner to remove that server from night shifts when I would want to continue being a customer there. And I also wasn't surprised with the way things ended. I'm just one customer, even if I'm a good one. Any disciplinary action towards that server, assuming that there was any, is supposed to happen in levels. All I have to say concerning that is, if I were to take a such as life viewpoint on this, it is what it is, what happened, happened. For me, that would at the same time be saying, I'm a rag, whack me around, or I'm a doormat, step on me. Thank you for hearing me out.